Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HA Network. It is Thursday, June 29th. Frank Granito and Kevin Coleman in studio this afternoon as we've got a big show coming up today. Kev, a couple of hot topics towards the end of the show. We're going to talk about potentially school starting later in the day, what that effect will have on post-school athletics, as well as an article from Scott Erickson in the Stanford Advocate talking about attendance at some of the local sporting events, or the lack of attendance, we should say.
And I think, you talk about that late start to the high school level. That's been talked about for years, even when we were in high school. So I think it's an argument and a topic that's going to be continued to talk about for more years. So we can talk about it later on when we get to it, but it certainly is a topic for discussion.
It's a topic that, you're right, has been going on for years, but is starting to come to the forefront now. We know Wilton has already committed and made that switch. They're at a later time now. We're seeing Greenwich has come around on it, potentially Ridgefield now, New Canaan in the talks, a couple of schools that could be that key falling block that starts the domino effect. So we'll have more on that later, but right now we want to start the show off welcoming back a couple of collegiate athletes and former FCX standouts. They are both from New Canaan High School out of the boys and girls lacrosse programs. They are Kyle Smith of the University of Denver and Frank Granito of the University of Michigan. Kyle, Catherine, thank you for being on Nutmeg Sports. How are you both doing this afternoon?
Great, beautiful day.
Well, we won't take up too much of your time, let you get back out to it, but you both just finished your first year as a collegiate athlete at the Division I level. Catherine, let me start with you. You're playing for an up-and-coming program now, just finishing their fourth year to the University of Michigan women's lacrosse team as a varsity program. What was that experience like for you in year one?
At first I was a little nervous with the transition, going from high school to college, especially going from a high school athlete to a D1 athlete, but the team camaraderie just was so easy to ease into, and our coach was great, and she was a great help. We have a new coach coming in, and everybody's really excited for that, so we're excited to see what the future has to hold.
And Kyle, for you, you're at one of the most storied programs in the history of Division I lacrosse at the University of Denver, just 2 years removed from a national championship, playing for Coach Bill Tierney. I mean, all of that, did it meet the expectations you had set it up to?
I think it did, because coming out of high school, Coach Buzzio played for Coach Tierney over at Princeton way back when, so he kind of helped me ease into it, and Coach Tierney is not a soft guy, so I was expecting that, and that held up to expectations. And the lacrosse definitely held up. Played 4 to 5 times a week in the fall, which is a lot more than other programs, and then day in, day out in the spring. So it held up to what it's worth, but it was good.
Now, this is a question for the both of you. outside of lacrosse, what made you choose your schools? And I'll start with you, Catherine. What made you choose Michigan outside of lacrosse?
Well, I grew up in a bleed blue family. Like, I thought Hail to the Victors was a nursery rhyme growing up, so Michigan had always been on my radar right from the get-go. And a lot did come down when I was in high school. A lot of it did come down to what sport I wanted to play, whether I wanted to play ice hockey or lacrosse. And unfortunately, Michigan does not have a women's program, and I knew I'd always wanted to be a D1 athlete. So Michigan, with or without lacrosse, was always where I wanted to go, so it worked out really well.
For you, Kyle, at Denver, what was it about being a Pioneer that really got you to commit there?
I think less about the school, and I think playing for Coach Tierney was one of my big things, like continuing that legacy that he held with Coach Buzzio and moving on to him and hitting his accomplishments was something I looked up to. Growing up as a lacrosse player, but also going out there my sophomore year, visiting the school, I kind of just fell in love with the scenery of Colorado, and the difference in Colorado and Connecticut is easy to say, but you don't really know until you get out there. So the mountains are a different thing.
Well, Kyle, you guys had a great season all the way to the national semifinals. You were there Memorial Day weekend at the Final Four. What was that experience like in your first year, and what did you take away from getting to play against the eventual national champion, the Maryland Terrapins?
The Final Four was pretty much a dream come true. Growing up every year, I'd go to the Final Four every Memorial Day weekend, whether it was in Baltimore, Boston, or Philly, wherever it might have been, I was there. So to be on the field and looking up into the crowd was good. But obviously, to lose in the semifinals is not what we wanted. But I guess we lost the eventual national champions by 1 goal, so can't really complain a lot there. But still frustrating when you look back on it.
And Catherine, you had to redshirt this freshman season due to some injuries and off-the-field illnesses, but you got to watch the program come away with their first ever conference victory. What was the emotion like in the locker room after the game of that win, especially over your biggest rival in Ohio State?
So that was our first Big Ten win in the 4 years that we've had a program. So that was pretty incredible. I don't even know how to put it into words other than the fact that we had a picture at the end of the year. Everyone got a framed picture of the picture we took after the game with the 10-11 or 11-10 overtime win. Everyone is stoked. I think that's gone down in the books, and we made history with that win. So it was really exciting.
Now, again, another question for the both of you. You finish up your freshman years. Now you head into your sophomore years as D1 athletes. What's this off-season training program going to be like for you guys to, keep up in shape? But as well, you're coming home, you're going to see some old friends from high school, and you're enjoying time off. But what are you doing now to get prepared for fall ball and now even getting ready for the springtime, getting ready for lacrosse again?
I mean, I think it really helps coming from a town like New Canaan where you have so many people who've gone to play collegiate level sports. So, I mean, this morning I text Kyle, hey, let's go to the field, let's pass, or let's run or something. And it's really nice to have that between guys and girls, just to lean on someone so you're not doing it alone. You have someone there pushing you, making you better. Definitely staying on top of working out. Don't get out of the habit of the workouts that you were doing during school. If you're running 3 times a week, don't come home and get out of that loop. Like, stay through it. You don't want to go back to school looking like the underdog. That's definitely something that fuels your fire. I don't know about Kyle, but that's definitely just my take.
Yeah, definitely. It's easy to find someone to just get out there and go work out with, but staying on top of your workout regimen is huge over the summer because over winter break, I kind of slacked off for the 6 weeks that I was home and went back and was pretty behind the 8 ball on that one. So after seeing what not following your workout program does to you, I kind of had to learn the hard way. You have to stay on top of it. But now this summer I've been good, running a lot, working out a lot, and like I said, it's really easy to find someone of your athletic caliber to go out and just run or go lift with. So it's been good.
Now, Kyle, this is a question for you. We just spoke about how you got a chance to go to that Final Four. You're playing Maryland in a tight game. It's 9-8. You guys are driving down the field in transition. It looks like you guys tied the game up at 9-9, but there was a crease violation. Goal got disallowed, and Maryland went on to win the game. But do you guys use that as motivation for this upcoming springtime?
I'm sure we will. Definitely. I mean, for that to happen in the waning seconds of the semifinal game to possibly make a comeback and send it to overtime, be back-to-back crease calls and not let goals count. I'm sure that'll happen because during the season we got absolutely smoked by Ohio State, 16-8, and then use that to fuel us and come back and beat Towson the next week, who last year ended our season. And so I'm sure we'll use that 9-8 loss in the semifinals next year immensely.
And Catherine, for you, one of the other players on your roster, in fact, we understand she's your locker mate, is one of your biggest high school rivals in Chandler Kirby. What was the transition like having to become teammates with a rival from Darien when you got to the University of Michigan?
I think a lot of it was a ton of excitement. We both came from very similar programs. Unfortunately, New Canaan sometimes had at the tail end of those games versus Darien, so Chandler was sure to let our team know about those. But, take it with a grain of salt and you move on. But, no, she'll always be my teammate. I mean, it's amazing working with her. We always joke, imagine combining Darien and New Canaan. There'd be no competition anywhere in the Tri-State, including Connecticut in on that. So, I don't know, it's so fun. I'm glad that we were locker buddies. We've definitely gotten so close. And definitely just all exciting stuff.
Well, you two obviously were a huge part of the success at New Canaan High School and the state championships you won when you were within the programs. I don't know how much of the seasons you got to catch this year, but for the first time in a while, we didn't see either the New Canaan boys or girls lacrosse team in the FCX championships. What were your thoughts on how your alma mater's high school seasons went this year? I'm putting you on the spot here, yeah.
What?
I'm putting you on the spot here, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard to watch those games, definitely, because I remember looking back, I watched a couple of the games on online or like on TV, wherever they were, and you want to be out there you want to go back one more year and kind of give back and see what you can do to help the team this year win. But really looking back on it, you're outdated at this point, and you can't really think about it, and you can't really control what's going on, so you kind of just gotta let it be, I guess.
All right, I got one more question for the two of you now, and it would just be, at school, outside of your sport, one of those extracurricular activities, what's been the most fun thing you guys have gotten to do so far after your freshman year?
We went whitewater rafting towards the end of school in the Rocky Mountains. So that was probably the most fun weekend I've had.
That's a big difference between Colorado and Connecticut.
That's huge. That sounds like a blast. I'm down to go whitewater rafting.
I'm not going. No, it's dangerous.
Oh, let's go.
It's dangerous. How about out in Ann Arbor, Catherine?
Ann Arbor's amazing, so you really can't go wrong being there in general. Probably my favorite thing, I'm trying to bring the trend back to Connecticut, is squirrel feeding. Squirrels there, they love food and they're very friendly and they come up to you. So in between classes, you'll be in the middle of the diag and everyone will be feeding squirrels, and it's pretty funny. I'm definitely trying to get that trending here in Connecticut. So feel free to help me with that.
There's certainly enough squirrels around. And it's funny you mentioned you're from a bleed blue family, because I happen to be too, and my sister got me this hat. I was hoping, though, she might say having my brothers out for football games was the most fun activity.
I should have brought my Ohio State gear, because go Buckeyes.
Oh, please. Kyle, Catherine, thank you so much for coming on with us today. We really appreciate it. We want to wish you both the best of luck and know that we'll be following along for the rest of your careers out there.
Thanks for having us.
We'll talk again soon. That was Kyle Smith and Catherine Granito, former New Canaan High School athletes and the boys and girls lacrosse team. They're now at the University of Denver and the University of Michigan. A lot of fun catching up with those two, and it's good to see what the collegiate athletes are doing now in the summer and how they're staying focused here at home.
Yeah, I think that was a good question to ask, just to see what that transition is like from being at that D1 school, working hard all academic year long. You're coming home summertime. You're back home in your hometown. What are you doing? You're staying active. It's cool that Catherine and Kyle are just passing the ball around, even if it's in New Canaan, going to Dunningfield, wherever it is. So it's cool to see that they come home, get to hang out with old friends, but they also get to work out too and help each other out and motivate each other.
Certainly a lot of fun. Hopefully just the first two of many collegiate athletes we'll get to talk to while they are home on their summer breaks. Kev, let's step aside quickly. When we get back, we're going to dive in a little bit to this school start time decision process that's going on right now and the effect it'll have on the high school athletics here in the state of Connecticut. We'll be right back on Nutmeg Sports. Go Blue.
Go.
Celebrate summer with fresh made-to-order picnic boxes from Walter Stewart's Market. We have delicious summery selections from buttermilk fried chicken to grilled lemon chicken kebab, grilled shrimp Caesar salad wraps, or lobster salad rolls. Our easy-to-carry picnic boxes come with your choice of a meal, as well as a dessert, beverage, and utensils. Order online for simple pickup options. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and online at stewartsmarket.com.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The InSports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
School's out, the weather is hot, and the fish are biting. Whether you're heading to the beach or out on a boat, stop in at the dock shop before you go to fill your beach bag or tackle box with everything you'll need for fun in the sun. A new beach cover-up, some sunscreen, or just some bait, the Dock Shop has you covered from either location. 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. And yes, you heard that right. Bait is now available in Darien and Westport. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. DockShop.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands right now during the Drive and Discover event. Now through June 30th.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HA Network. Thank you again to Kyle Smith and Frank Granito for joining us today, Kev. As we're going to switch gears here and a little bit of a hot topic going on right now. Schools looking into potentially a later start time in the morning. And there was a great article in the Ridgefield Press by, I double-checked the author, but Ridgefield's athletic director, Dane Street, very hesitant towards this move. And he put out a lot of good reasoning behind the logistics and the effect it'll have negatively, not necessarily on the athletic schedule, but I liked his emphasis on the athletes, citing that basketball practice currently ends 7, 8 o'clock at night. You're telling these kids now they're going to be out till 9, 10 o'clock, depending when this delay goes till?
Well, some of those basketball practices I remember ended at 9, maybe even 10 o'clock sometimes. So you could be pushing those practices back even farther. And talk about night games too. That can play a factor as well. But it's the practices, I think. And I thought that 2 sports that come to mind are golf and tennis. Think about golf. You're starting later school, and those tee times are around 3 o'clock, 3:30, 3:45. Not once you start going to 4:35, you're stretching it, and there's no lights on the golf course. So if it gets dark out, you can't play a full 18. You can't get full practices in.
There's no lights on a golf course, and it's also none of the schools own these golf courses.
Exactly, yeah.
They have got a set block that for the past 15, 20 years has been set aside for this program. It's very tough to ask some of these golf clubs to just adjust with you and say, oh, well, we actually need the now 4:45 to 6:45 time slot, where clubs are going to have members that are trying to get out, come off work, and go out to play at that time of the day. You look forward and you think to the postseason where you've got playoff games going on via the CIAC, so you've got to go upstate to the far west part of the state to play some of these games. Now you're talking about taking athletes out of school early, where there are rare exceptions that needs to happen. And occasionally it is an okay thing, but if it's becoming a regular occurrence, are we talking about student athletes or athletic students?
That's the big topic, I think, when you think of this sort of thing when you're starting school late. And I think because if you start school around 8:30, 9 o'clock, you have to take some of these kids out early because they have a game around 4 o'clock and they have to leave early. And you're right. I think on occasion it's okay. But I thought, Athletic Director Dane Street, put it best, is that these student athletes have to be in class and academics come first. And I think when when you're a student athlete, especially around here, that's something that your coaches emphasize. And yes, while playing sports is so important and you want to win, you want to get to these games on time, I think academics come first, and that's going to be the big problem I think that we're see here if all of these schools, if Ridgefield is one of these schools now, we know Wilton is a school that starts later, and now Greenwich is going to be a school next year that starts later. So if schools start going up on this trend, I think we may see some issues, because think about it. If you have practice or a game, you get home at 10 o'clock and you've got 3 hours worth of homework and that you haven't even started yet, you're not going to bed until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and that's not healthy. It's not a good lifestyle to live.
Another thing too, especially when you look to Greenwich making this switch next year, Kevin, everyone in the state of Connecticut has tried to drive either the Merritt Parkway or I-95 sometime after 3:30 in the afternoon, and realizes that it takes you 90 minutes to get to Bridgeport. Now all of a sudden at 4 o'clock you're getting on a bus to get to a stadium at the northern part of the conference for 6 o'clock start. You really think that's going to be feasible for Greenwich to pull off?
Not at all.
I appreciate that there is the And now talking about the importance of academics, this whole move is driven by the sense that school is too early for these teenagers, for these adolescents to really be able to understand and learn at their full capacity. The argument is that 7:30, 7:45, 7:50, they're still not awake. Their body is not processing information the way you need to. But the argument we're sitting here making today is what cost does it come at? And the pressure now you're putting on the athletic side, and is it going to be more of a strain on their bodies ultimately, as you said, with the effects of, well, now you get home and you've got X amount of work, or you've got to study for X amount of hours to get ready for an exam.
Exactly, and that's, like we said, that's just not the lifestyle you want to live. It's not healthy, and these are student athletes who are still growing, and you want to make sure that, especially at this level when they're in high school, they're getting the proper, they're getting the right amount of sleep in. And of course, I know, Frank, we lived it. Getting up early at 5:30, 6 o'clock for high school is not easy, but it's kind of a pros and cons. You look at it that way, because at that point you get out at what, 2:15, 2:30. Then you have plenty of time to get ready for practice. Get on time for a 4 o'clock game per se, or a 6 o'clock game. So, there's pros and cons to it. I don't think that this is going to justify what we see here if schools start later, because you're right, it's going to cause problems. Traffic is a great topic you brought up, because listen, the I-95 and the Merritt are just a disaster around that, around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock time. And
transportation is not cheap for these high schools.
Exactly,
but even setting that aside, that's one of the last arguments you need to make on a conversation like this. But let me ask you, because I don't think we see a true shift in power or a true shift amongst multiple schools before 2020. But off of your experience, off of how your high school academic and athletic career went, would you want to see schools started later?
No.
Do you think it would have been that beneficial?
I don't think so. Maybe that's just because we got so used to it all throughout our 4 years. Getting up early, wasn't the best. I'm sure we weren't fans of it, but I feel like it got us prepared. Time management, I think, is a huge thing that especially at the high school level, that these kids start to learn, especially as they go off into college. Time management is so huge. So you get at school on time, then you get ready for practice, and I think you kind of go into a routine and you get used to it. So it's difficult. I think while yes, I agree that getting up early and your brain's not processed fully to the right amount, it's true, but I still think that they have to stick to what they have, because I think they're going to run into some problems if they start schools later.
Well, I tell you what, I'm pretty sure that per our contract with the FCX, if FCX schools do start later, our work day does as well. So we could have that going in our favor. Listen, you're right. It was a topic that has been going on since we were in high school, even before then, and I think it's a topic that will continue on until a change is made. And I think the only way this idea gets busted, is through seeing failure. It's going to have to be changed eventually somewhere, and it just ultimately falls flat on its face. I don't think anyone wants to see that happen, and I don't think it'll happen for a couple of years, but in my opinion, that's the only way you end this debate.
Because it wouldn't look good. Think about it. If they went to this and they decided that all schools start later, imagine if it's a huge failure, and then they have to go back to the early start time. It's just not going to be a good look.
No. And that's the thing. It's one of those where you have to do it at the right time. It's got to be the right move, or it's just going to be a thing of the past.
Right.
But again, I think that's a couple years off, but we're going to hear this debate every off season amongst boards of education. So we will keep an eye on that. And again, there's more on that story at the RidgefieldPress.com. Kevin and I are going to step aside one more time. When we get back, we've got a Scott Erickson article out of the Stanford Advocate that's got our interest piqued. We'll have more on that after the break.
You don't have to go far for authentic Neapolitan cuisine and renowned wood-fire pizza. Pizzeria Loretano of Bethel is a contemporary Italian bistro, specializing in authentic wood-fired brick oven pizza Napolitana. Pizzeria Loretano was named one of America's top 1,000 Italian restaurants in 2008 by Zagat, and recommended by Jane and Michael Stern on National Public Radio's Splendid Table. Located close to the Bethel Cinema, we focus on quality, and our food is always made to order. Join us for live jazz Sundays from 6 to 8. Find our schedule, menu, and more at pizzerialoretano.com, and like us on Facebook.
I can't believe it.
Well, Dad, you did it. You sold 160 cars. Ready to go back upstairs now?
I think it's time. I wonder how the boys are making out in their new office.
Not what I had in mind, Kyle. What, Dad?
Maybe we should retire. Right now, lease a 2017 Rogue S for only $139 a month. Isn't it time you got Millerized?
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866. If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network, and we've also reached more than 2 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network as we look now to an article out of the Stanford Advocate written by Scott Erickson yesterday on June 28th, Kev. And New Canaan Athletic Director Jay Egan said publicly that many of called out essentially the student body at New Canaan for a lack of attendance at the, you don't want to say lesser, but the less popular sporting events at the high school, citing that you're just not seeing people show up to the games outside of hockey and football.
I think that one sport too that isn't really a lesser sport is lacrosse, and I think we saw a lot of it this spring. Is while yes, Darien was a lot of fun to watch, they blew a lot of these teams out the water. I think you started seeing students start to leave around halftime, third quarter because they knew it was over, which is a shame because you want to see the students cheer for their team and cheer for their friends who are out on the field for the entire game, and you don't like to see that because it's not really a good look when you have a student section leaving early from a game. Now I don't think we saw that at all from hockey and basketball, and those two sports were great student section wise, but I think when you look at lacrosse, even softball, we didn't really see too much student body, and that's baseball. I think the only time we really saw students come out was at Harbor Yard, and that was only for the final. So I think baseball is that one sport. Why wouldn't you go out on a beautiful day in the springtime and go watch your school playing? I think that's the one sport where you'd like to see student bodies at.
Well, I thought that there were a couple of baseball games, and baseball is a tricky one, in the sense that, well, there's not always that traditional seating. Some of these ballparks are not right at the high school. It's a little bit of a commute. You can find a couple ways to work around it. But I loved when we were at Staples this year and you've got the students bringing a grill out behind the right field fence and essentially just running a tailgate out there. I think that's what it should be like. I was a huge fan, and I just believe, I stand by, high school sports is all about the atmosphere that's created. Everyone has the opportunity to play. It is the pride for your hometown, playing for your school in front of a community, and a big part of that community is supporting one another. I wanted to be at every possible sporting event I could be at, and it was always fun. That was what it ultimately came down to. It was a fun thing to get to do. So it's bizarre right now where we're at a time that kids don't want to go to these games. Especially when you think about the majority of them, with the exception of hockey and football, it's free admittance.
Yeah, and you look at even in the fall time, I think football, yes, we saw some great attendances, but those are only for the big games too that you saw. Obviously, Turkey Bowl was absolutely fantastic, but you look at some of these Darien games that we covered. Even New Canaan was a little light on the student section wise. So you're right, and I think when you're in high school, what better way to gather all your friends together and grab a whole student body and get rowdy at a football game or whatever game it is. Why not? And I think it's a good social event to go to and have some fun on a school night or even a Friday night lights. I don't see why students don't do it more often. And I think it's a great topic because as we start to get ready for the fall time, that's something that I'm definitely going to be looking out for now. Is is what are the student sessions like? Obviously, football is going to be number one, but what are they going to be like at soccer, and what are they going to be like at volleyball? And you look at all these other fall sports. That's the one thing. It's a good argument because you're right. We're not seeing enough students nowadays, and it's a shame because you think about social media and all the hot things that are going on right now. I feel like it would be the perfect time to go to a football game or any type of high school sporting event.
Well, I think football is the exception. No matter where you go, you're going to see fans, especially the students, in attendance on a Friday night at a football game. But it's the games such as field hockey, girls soccer, volleyball, girls basketball, boys soccer. These kind of games that it's not a Friday night setting, oh, everyone in the town is going to be there. This is where it should be your students showing up to support their fellow students. And this is not to say that the entire conference is struggling like this, because there are a lot of schools. We loved what Wilton, the Tribe, and Ridgefield did this year with student sections, and that stretched beyond just their football and basketball teams. They were at a lot of events, the girls' basketball games, baseball. They had great support. So it's really right now the article focusing on New Canaan a little bit. Darien suffers as well, but when you think about it, athletic directors, coaches, members of the school are trying to find incentives to get high schoolers to attend high school sporting events. That just seems crazy. There shouldn't be any incentive necessary, but I'm more asking you, how do you feel about the fact that we're at this point in time now here in the FCIAC?
It's disappointing, I think. It's a shame because...
And that's the right word. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
That's
fine.
the right word. Disappointing is the exact word I was looking for.
Because think about it. You're in high school and you're going out and going to support your school, support your whatever sport it may be during that time of year. Why not? Why not go? And you're absolutely right. I thought Ridgefield and Wilton did an absolutely great job this year, no matter sport it was. Wilton was stellar, especially in basketball. I gotta give, definitely a shout out to them. But you're right, both schools were so good this year, supporting every team. And you're right. I think field hockey needs the recognition. Girls volleyball is so much fun to go to. I mean, I had a blast going to that last fall, so that's something I'm looking forward to. So why not go to these games? Because it's a lot of fun.
It was a great atmosphere at the championship at Ludlow. The problem is it can't just be that championship game.
Right.
Girls basketball, that was unbelievable at Fairfield Ludlow. It can't just be that championship game. Go out, support your classmates, support your friends, go to these games. It's fun. It's as fun as you want it to be. And I hope we do start to see a change and more people will get on board with going to these events. But another problem, we're seeing some disparity in the top to bottom of the conference right now, and blowouts turn fans away. There's no other way around it. Very few people want to go out and watch a public flogging.
Right. I think that's what we saw in lacrosse this year, especially with Darien. I think all of these blowout games, you started seeing students just pile out, and that's the problem. And there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing that anyone can do about it. But it's disappointing.
Well, there is one thing we can do about it. When you do leave a game at halftime, make sure you've got the HAN Network app on your Apple or Google phone. Tune in, and we'll keep you covered in case of a comeback. Kev, we're out of time for the week, out of time for the month. We are off until July, my friend. Ooh. So I will leave you with one question now before we are back here Wednesday, July 5th. I did notice the 4th of July tie.
Just making sure.
I like it. I got to come back in tomorrow, so I'll have my red, white, and blue then. But one question for you before we head into the holiday break.
Okay.
Can anyone beat Joey Chestnut in the hot dog eating contest this year?
I'm going to say no. And if there's anyone that's going to do it, it's this guy to my right here, Frankie Hot Dogs Granito.
Hey, guys, you've still got 5 days left to support the Hot Dog Challenge. Please feel free to go online, donate to the cause. At least check out what we're doing. It's Dogs for Dogs, supporting Leader Dogs for the Blind. To my rival, Brian O'Callahan, may the best man win. Hashtag Beatdown broke out. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the holiday weekend. As always, for Kevin Coleman, I'm Frank Granito. I'm assuming he's showing some Ohio State stuff, so go Blue. Enjoy the 4th.
O-H-I-O!